Hey, good morning, evening, afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Invest Success podcast. We are here talking real estate, all kinds of different stuff about real estate, not only in the Colorado, Denver market where we kind of live and do things, but out of state as well. So you never know what you're going to get. I'm here with my co-host, Jim Edenfield, the right-hand man who does everything for me, makes me look pretty most of the time. At least I think most of the time.
He just can't make me look pretty.
And our guest today is Kurt Haneke. And Kurt has been a real estate agent for forever, as long as I've remembered. And Kurt, why don't you give us an introduction about yourself so that we don't misjudge or say something wrong?
Yeah, okay. Like Tim said, my name is Kurt Haneke. I've been with RE/MAX and Metro Brokers, but I've been with Metro Brokers for probably over 20 years now. Been in the business almost 33 years in the Denver metro area, all of that in the Denver metro area. And so I've been a real estate broker and I've been an investor for, 25 years possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Been around the Denver metro area. I kind of follow the 10 or 11 counties around the Denver metro area. And most of my business is repeat and referral business now.
Okay.
Yeah.
How'd you get started in real estate?
Completely by accident. And now that you mentioned it, I used to work for a defense contractor and they laid me off. And I was looking actually for a job in the defense industry. And so I had plenty of time. I was single at the time, and I wanted to buy a house. So I went and took all-day Saturday classes at the local community college. And at the end of the semester, still hadn't found a job in the defense industry. And the teacher, who was a RE/MAX broker, said, "Why don't you take the real estate test?" And I said, "What for?" And he said, "Go sell a few homes." That's how it started.
Been rocking and rolling ever since.
30-some years ago. I've been self-unemployed for that long.
And we host the John Fisher's Breakfast Club in Denver. It's been going for over 20 years.
Yeah.
We inherited it from John F. Fisher, who started. How long have you been a part of that? Because you are a regular there almost every month.
Yeah, I was there at the first meeting, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Knew John from the Association of Real Estate Investors, and he always had like 2 or 3 or 4 low-priced fix and flip homes. Always, he was always pitching them. And then he said, "Hey, we want to get together, a few of us, have a little meeting, talk about the market, talk about what we're doing." And sure enough, I think we went to a country buffet or something like that in Inglewood, and that's where it started 20-some years ago. You guys probably know better than I would.
But you've been a mainstay. I mean, every month, Tim's like, "Kurt, what do you see? What do you see?" So, and we kind of talk about today. What do you see in the real estate market? What's going on?
That's nice. Well, 2 or 3 years ago, the market was on fire, just like it probably was in most markets around the nation, actually. But Denver was just crazy. I mean, there's no inventory. People were getting, seriously, 5, 6, 7 offers. I actually had to find a spreadsheet to keep track of all the offers I got in and, what was different about each of them so you could give them to your seller. We had no inventory on the market. And that's still somewhat the case, but we have a lot more inventory now. Just from this time last year, we at least have double the inventory. Last fall, we had about triple the inventory we had back in February, March of last year. So it's coming back around a little bit more, but what keeps the market slowed down a little bit are the interest rates.
Mm-hmm.
The interest rates are still 6.5%, 7%, and it's really hard for young folks to be able to afford a house.
And when I first started getting interested in investing, the interest rates were a lot higher.
Yeah,
in the teens. Teens, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Yep.
And then yes, we went through a very rare time where it was 2 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
So the young people now are like, "Oh, I want it back to where it was normal at 2 or 3," and like that was not normal. That was rare. Now we're almost to a normal area.
Yeah.
But the crazy thing is, back when it was in the teens, people were still investing and making money.
The caveat to that,
but the price is adjusting.
The price is the difference.
So the price is different. But again, if you know how to do your numbers, and we say know your numbers 1,000 times a week. If you know how to know your numbers, you account for the interest level, you account for the price, and you make it work.
But I just heard this the other day again, because I listen to podcasts and you go online and listen to folks talking, and they said the same thing you guys always mention. When's the best time to buy? 10 years ago. When's the next best time?
Today.
Right now. Right now. And, so we have higher interest rates. So that's what we have to live with. And, the market adjusts a little bit to that. 3 and 4 years ago, I believe, we had homes appreciating at 20% a year or possibly even over.
Yeah.
20, 21%, 22%. That is done. And now we have 3% appreciation. So we're still lucky. We're still lucky here in Colorado. The Denver, Colorado Springs, the Front Range market, basically, it's not booming anymore. And maybe that's a good thing because, like you mentioned, interest rates were so low that prices were just shooting through the roof. We actually heard stories of people getting offers at $100,000 over their asking price. That's not a healthy market. And it's not healthy for the greater population. So anyway, now we have a little bit higher interest rates. Appreciation has slowed down, and the market is figuring out how to handle that. Sellers are now accepting more in concessions. They're paying more in concessions. And that's another thing maybe we can talk about. Sellers are still not of the opinion that their homes are worth $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 less than they were a year ago.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Yeah. And that's been one of the hard things for as flippers to watch. The market changes and ebbs and flows also. And we also have a big seasonality issue in Colorado.
Yep.
The season is right now, and we talk about this a lot at Breakfast Club, is the real season now is basically January to April, May.
Yeah.
June, July, August, September, October, November slow down a lot. It doesn't mean houses don't still sell every month.
Yes.
But if you're trying to find a ramp up, it's really based on that spring and early winter. This year, 2025 has been a little clunky, and we haven't seen a real start. We're going to be, we're doing this in late February, early March. It's been clunky coming on and seeing what the market's doing and how people are adjusting to that, because we were all ready for that January buildup.
Absolutely. I mean, 10, 15 years ago, it was crazy to think you were going to put your home on the market in January and February. Yep. That just didn't happen. Unless you had to move, unless you were getting divorced, one of the 5 Ds, the diplomas and the divorce, and no one put their home on the market when there was snow on the ground. As a matter of fact, we used to try to avoid photos of snow on the ground, and you'd get out there to take photos again when the snow wasn't on the ground, so you'd look like you had a fresher listing. And, last few years, that has been getting earlier and earlier, that people thought, well, hey, I got to get my home on the market to beat everyone else to the middle of the spring or the end of spring, when everyone's going to put their home on the market. So like you mentioned, the months where it used to be really fast in June, July, and August, not so anymore. And the other thing I was going to mention is the market is hyper local also. Yes. Neighborhood by neighborhood. Yeah. It still surprises me that I see neighborhood by neighborhood variations.
Value can change by 2 blocks drastically.
You go. Yeah, value. Yeah, great point. Value, time on the market, how many people are looking there, the buyer pool, in other words. Just some very interesting now.
And a lot of those little nuances have changed. It used to be schools really dictated what those micro markets are, but I'm not seeing that as much as we used to. It seems like timing is when kids are coming out of college, when their jobs are giving them bonuses, stuff like that. We get a tax return bump of people wanting to buy a house after they get their tax returns in kind of April, May area. So it's always really interesting about that.
Yeah, and neighborhood amenities also.
Yeah.
Do you have rec centers there?
HOA.
The HOA, the cool hangouts for the younger folks, the college age folks, the after college age folks, the young families. Do they have parks there? Do they have the breweries there? Can you walk your dog? Can you bring your dog?
I know a neighbor up north, Anthem. One side of the street is 55 plus. No kids.
Yeah.
If you got grandkids, they can come in and visit, but they got to get out.
Yep.
Across the street, it's all kids and up to
Yeah.
50. So
Yeah.
they're kind of segregated. But we're talking. I mentioned HOA. So is that a good thing or a bad thing? What do you think? Just you personally.
Oh, me personally, I think it's a good thing because it keeps people from doing things that are detrimental to your particular property. What do you mean by that? Painting your house a very
Cars,
color.
junk cars.
Junk cars. I've got a property on the market right now where the seller said, if you're taking drone photos, don't show the lot to the south of us. Say, a lot of junk.
There's a house going in my
hanging around.
neighborhood.
So
3 junk cars, a junk boat. I'm like,
it's good and bad, but if you're a person that doesn't want to be part of the, hang out with the neighbors and, you've got a trailer, you got trucks and trailers and stuff like that. You got a boat, you got an RV, you probably don't want an HOA. And there's places that are very nice that kind of self-regulate themselves also, the neighbors are going to get on you. So, I don't know. Overall, I think HOAs are good, but you have
you just don't want a
you have the folks
freak control on the
that
board.
are hyperactive as a matter. Yeah, as a matter of
walking
fact.
around with a camera and a phone and notepad every day, and there's a piece of paper. Yeah.
But there's a huge balance with that HOA thing too, though, and especially as flippers and people we're dealing with. You got to look for that stuff.
Yeah.
You got to see if your neighborhood is in an HOA or is not,
and what the fees are.
And what the fees are. But you can have two neighborhoods right next to each other, and there can be drastic prices.
Right.
Down south, I give this example of Walnut Hills and Hunter Hills.
Sure.
Walnut Hills has no HOA. Hunter's Hills does, and there's $100,000 price difference in the same house on one side of the creek or the other.
Yeah.
There's no distinct border that you could tell driving around until you learn that neighborhood.
That imaginary
there are a lot of
HOA line.
there are a lot of places around South Glen Mall or the streets of South Glen that have that same thing.
Yeah.
So you got to be aware of that, and there's a lot of that stuff up around North, Arvada and Wheat Ridge and so forth to figure that out. So if you're doing a flip, we had a student years ago do a flip with in the wrong neighborhood right across the street, and they'd gotten, somebody had given them comps. The wholesaler had given him comps, and he didn't list us, and he got stuck with that property for a while. So
well, and HOAs, I think you're talking about single family residential markets where if you're talking about condos and HOAs, condos and townhomes, you have to know the health of the HOA, because you could be getting yourself into a problem there where you're going to end up having to fork out a bunch of money.
So that brings up a great point with condo HOAs. They have to post the last 6 months of minutes.
Yes.
And you need to go back and read those last 6 months of minutes, because 6 months ago, somebody could have said, hey, we've got a parking lot issue, and then nothing was said for 5 months. And month 7, they come back and say, okay, we're going to do a special assessment of $30,000 a unit. And what do? You got to pay in the assessment.
I was going to say the financials, the budget. Yeah. And they have to deliver all of that.
Yeah.
And then you also want to check, the CCNRs, covenants, conditions, and restrictions, because some HOAs have a pretty interesting covenants and restrictions. Garage doors have to be closed by 6 p.m. or something crazy.
Garbage cans got to be behind the fence.
There's another,
Recent, I don't know if they have. I haven't kept up with it recently, but for a while there were certain HOAs in the Denver area that were actually foreclosing on houses for issues as small as not taking their.
They
trash
have a super lien.
Mm-hmm. They're for silly things. You didn't bring a trash can in, and you've been warned. Okay, now we're putting a lien against your house.
Well, you weren't getting foreclosed on.
But they were going to court though.
You were getting court things, but if you weren't paying your dues, you were easily foreclosed on.
Absolutely.
And their lien comes first, and they could take it over and snuff out even the bank lien. It's pretty amazing stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
but be careful.
On the flip side, there've also been people that bought properties in those HOAs that got a really good deal because the HOA is not that concerned about price and when it sells and whatever. So if you got somebody that can solve a problem in an HOA, there's an opportunity there.
Yeah.
Well, I think most people I talk to, they're like, anti-HOA. I'm staying away from, I don't want to get involved. Yes, there's pros and cons, but on my feed, last night I saw somebody, I'm looking for a good HOA.
Oh, really?
I'm looking for a house in HOA. I'm like, wow, I haven't seen that come up in a while.
Right.
But they have pros and cons, but do your research. Do your research.
I live in Highlands Ranch, and I have 4 rec centers I can choose from.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I've got parks everywhere. I've got, they shovel the street. There are all kinds of good stuff for it. Now,
Yes.
I'm about to get tagged to, paint my garage. Pay up.
Yeah. Well, there's no place like Highlands Ranch. That was copied from Mission Viejo in California. There's no place you can spend, and you don't spend much, $55 a month. You can use 4 $6 to $10 million rec centers.
Yeah.
There's no place in the Denver metro area like that. So it has a lot of advantage. That would be an example of a good HOA that you'd want to be in. But if you have a 31-foot RV,
it's not being parked there.
It's not going to be parked there now.
Right.
Yeah,
So Kurt, let's talk about kind of as we get closer to wrapping up. What do you see the Denver market doing in the next, through the summer into fall? What are you guessing? I've got my own guess.
I think the activity is going to pick up a bit. There's going to be a bit more inventory come onto the market. I don't see, everything I'm hearing and following says that the interest rates aren't going to plunge.
No,
they're not going to come down into the 5s. Probably going to be 6.5. Hopefully we get a little bit of relief there. But I think we're going to have an interesting and active spring market. I don't, as far as appreciation goes, the other thing I was following was there were, 13 or 15 different entities, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Ginnie Mae, some of the bigger banks, Wells Fargo, they're all giving you their predictions about appreciation, and it's going to be kind of like it was last year, maybe 3% appreciation. And you know what? That's a good thing. We're still appreciating, and we're not depreciating, and we're probably going to be able to point fingers at different markets that see a pretty substantial depreciation this year, possibly.
I keep seeing one discussion is like a lot of people are waiting for the rates to come down. They're promising to come down. I'm going to wait.
Yeah.
But while they're waiting, what are the house prices doing?
Yeah,
They're going up.
Home prices are still going up, on $500,000. If they go up 3%, that's $15,000 just this year that you're probably going to have to spend next year if you wait. I get it. I get it. If you're not following the market closely, everyone's hoping that interest rates come down. Because if interest rates come down, you have a lower payment. It's more affordable.
Your price is going up.
Exactly, but your price is going up. So again,
part of the discussion I hear, they say, go ahead, if you can get it now, get the house,
get into it,
start building equity today.
Yes.
So when the interest rates do go, if they do go down, refi,
and they probably will.
And you've got your house, you got equity, and then you get a lower rate. But if you can get in today, because we talked about this last episode. When's the best time to buy real estate? 10 years ago. When's the best time to buy it? Today.
No.
Don't wait.
You have to get into the game. You have to get in the game, Yeah. And again, I feel bad for young people that are trying to buy their first property. It's expensive, I mean, the only thing you can do is move to a less expensive market. And then
I can't cry too much for the younger generation. Because the younger generation, what's their take-home pay compared when we were the younger generation?
That's funny because we were just talking about that.
Our income was way down here. These
yeah.
kids are spending $10 for a cup of coffee, $12 for a cup of coffee.
And
we were arguing about $1.50 for a cup of coffee.
Yep.
Yeah, true.
The numbers are different.
True. They're some of them make a very handsome income.
So nothing.
So yeah, I mean, and I think we had this discussion about, do you want to own a home or, if you're a single person, I totally get that. If you're single, you weren't that excited about being a homeowner, but you get married and you have a child or two, you want your own home. So
my son followed me out here, and he was renting an apartments. Every year I'm like, son, buy something.
Yeah.
I said, you're throwing away a lot of money. You're getting
Yes.
nothing back at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Invest it. Well, it's going to go up. I'm like, well, your rent is going up every year. At least you lock in that payment and you're building equity. Finally, he did. So I'm so proud. Right?
Yeah, good.
We're down to the 2-minute warning.
Oh, yeah.
We need to wrap up. If you've enjoyed hearing this great stuff from Kurt, you can hang out with him and have coffee and breakfast with him once a month. Come join us at the John Fisher's Breakfast Club. As we said, he's an OG, original gangster. He was there 20 years ago.
Yes.
We're still going strong. We had 49 people there this past Saturday. Great Saturday, great discussion. So come to that. If you can't get up that early and make a 7 o'clock breakfast, we are hosting 2 happy hours. First Wednesday month, we meet at Rhino at Blue Moon Brewery. The third Wednesday of the month, we're meeting down south. Venue to be named. We're kind of shifting around, but come join us. And we haven't talked about it much, but we actually have a 12-month coaching and mentoring program where we teach all of this stuff hands-on in houses that belongs to our students. So you get to see the beginning, the ugly, and the finished pretty project. You can attend any class, our first class, for free as our guest, and then we can talk to you if you're interested in joining. And if you've listened up to this point, there's a little special bonus just for you. Go to our website, sign up for the free class, and then you go, I like it, I want in. Say, Jim, I want to save $2,000, and we'll give you a $2,000 discount to join our program because you're watching us here.
And Kurt, finally wrapping up, how do people get a hold of you?
You can go to kurthaneke.com, www.kurthaneke.com. And my phone number's on that, or you can email me at kurt@kurthaneke.com.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Been great to talk with you guys.
Yeah, and we'll see you guys next month. In the meantime, or next week. In the meantime, go out and do a deal.